So the Plymouth Superbird had to be absolutely the coolest muscle car to ever hit the street. Why did it look like that? And why did Chrysler take a Charger, put a nose cone on it, and a whole bunch of different things? So what was going on in the late 60s, early 70s is that Chrysler wanted to dominate the NASCAR field, but to help dominate the field, what they needed to do is they needed to build like a more aerodynamic car. So with that said, out came the Superbird. So the NASCAR rules said at the time that in order to race a car, the NASCAR series on the track, you had to have at least 500 street versions of the car in order to race it. So they had to build at least 500 Superbirds and at least 500 Dodge Daytonas in order to race it in a NASCAR race. So what they did with the Superbird is they took a Dodge Charger, they put a plug in the rear window, because the window used to be recessed in for more airflow over the rear deck. They put a big wing on the back, as you can see in the picture here on the screen, and they added a nose cone to the front. The street version had some flip-up headlights, and there's a couple of bump overs where the wheel wells are too. I've read some articles that said that it would help with tire clearance. What they also did is they reinforced the A-pillar with a chrome piece. Now back in the day, when these things were sitting on the showroom, nobody wanted one. You couldn't give a Superbird away. People thought they were ugly. Everybody wanted a Charger. So they would actually take these things apart and build them back into a Charger. The dealers would to get rid of them. So once in a great while, this is probably done now, but you used to be able to find a Charger that was a Superbird sitting out in a barn or a field. And the way you would know is that the A-pillar would have a big chrome piece over it, and that was a dead giveaway that it used to be a Superbird, and it was converted back into a Charger either by the dealer or by somebody else. These cars are a really cool piece of racing history, as well as muscle car history. They just don't build stuff like this again, and they never will, especially with all the safety regulations in place now. It'd be impossible. So in the picture here on the wall is a younger Buddy Baker. He was the first guy to break 200 miles an hour, and he did it in a Dodge Daytona. And he was the first driver in a NASCAR closed circuit and a NASCAR sanctioned car to break the 200-mile barrier, and he did it in a Dodge Daytona. So what's kind of neat about the Dodge Daytona is, I think it was, I'm doing this from memory, they really didn't document these cars that well. So articles that I've read have said that they may have been 500 Dodge Daytonas built. The number could be 501 or 503. Nobody really knows, but I've also heard people who were involved in the program at that time that when NASCAR came down to count the number of cars that they had built, they were supposed to build 500 street versions. They were told to wait outside of an airplane hangar. So what happened is a Dodge Daytona would come out of one side of the building, circle in front of the NASCAR officials, and go back into the other side of the building. Then another car would come out, go by the officials, and go back in. So they could have counted the same car 4 times. They don't know. So in the Dodge Daytonas, there were only about, I think, 73, 78 of them that had Hemis in them. The rest of them had like a 440 6-pack or whatever it was in them. So I stumbled onto this video while researching Richard Petty's stuff. The King was awesome. 200 career wins. He won his 200th win when Ronald Reagan was there at the track. How cool is that? Here's one of his old Superbirds. I've seen Richard Petty say in interviews before, he's like, you couldn't spin that car out. The big wing in the back, he said in an interview before I heard him say that as soon as the back end of that car would slide out, the wing would snap it back into place. The car was just unbeatable. It was that awesome. So if you're ever out and about poking around and you go by like an auto museum and there's a Superbird in there or a car show and you happen to see one out there, stop by and check it out. They're pretty cool muscle cars, and the Superbirds, I think they built 1,980 of them. It could be a little bit lower than that. Here we are, that was in the 70s, or way beyond that now, 40-something years later, there's not that many left. But there are companies that make resto parts for them and nose cones and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. You have to love technology and the internet sometimes. But yeah, these guys that piloted those things, they're like the first astronauts, man. They just put their foot to the firewall and they went for it. But, it was a really cool piece of automotive history. And Hey, if you have anything to add to the video, leave a comment, give it a thumbs up if you like it, and if you had a Superbird back in the day, we want to hear it. Leave a comment, tell us all about it, and what's your favorite muscle car? We want to hear all about it. Thanks for watching.